Okay, guys, good afternoon. And this is where we stopped last time. We talked about technology in teaching and learning. All right, so let's continue the discussion. We will be discussing the International Society for Technology in Education. And we have three standards here: standards for administrators, standards for teachers, and standard for students. All right, so here is the model for the administrators. What would be the standard for administrators? Administrators are expected to be visionary leader. What do you mean by visionary leaders? Um, Expectedly, the leader should bring the group, or it's like a wiper that you're gonna bring the whole group to the page where we want them to be, or you are actually leading the institution to where you wanted it to be, from where it was and where you want it to be, right? So being a visionary leader, you have to picture or draw a picture of what type of institution you want to have in the future. You should have a target and a goal which should be anchored to your vision and mission. And this is somewhat a kind of guide that you have for the direction of your school, so that all the activities and the programs that will be created in doing such design are actually and should be anchored to the vision and mission of the school. Okay, so being an administrator, it is very necessary and important. You have to visualize, and you have a vision of where your school 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what type of school you have 10 years from now or 15 years from now. And that's being a visionary leader. You have to have a picture of a school that you wanted to have in the near future. So why we're discussing this one? Because as what I have said before during our class, that because we don't know what will happen next, and maybe and someday, if you will own your own school, if you will own a school in the future, or you will be leading a school like you will be assigned as a principal or administrator of a certain school, you will have an idea that you have to be one of the attribute that you should have is being a visionary leader. You have to bring everybody to the page you want them to be. Okay, so you have to convince them. You allow everybody to be informed of the system of the school, the vision of the school, the mission of the school, and you are going to design a program of what type of school you will have or should have 5 to 10 years from now, so that all the programs that you will have, or all the activities that you will have, should help in the attainment of your vision and mission of the school. Okay, that's being visionary leader, right? Next is, as an administrator, you have to be excellence in professional practice. Okay, so you are expected to be professional in dealing with your students, with your teachers, colleagues, and everybody in doing decision making. You should be professional. What does it mean? You cannot take it personally. You cannot bring your personal issues in deciding, because it will somewhat affect the entire program of the school if you are going to attach so much emotion to it. So you have to be professional. You have to remove yourself from the picture so that you can see the whole picture of the institution. Next one is systematic improvement. What do you mean by systematic improvement? Okay, it is also a standard of for the administrator to have a systematic improvement. There should be a step-by-step procedures that you have in order for you to achieve your vision or mission of the school. Okay, you should have a pattern, a blueprint, a design time frame of a specific programs or activities that your school should be following for you to achieve the improvement and to achieve the vision that you have for this school. Next is digital citizenship and digital or learning culture. What does it mean? Being an administrator, you have to orient the entire community of your school community of this digital what do you mean by paradigm model or the digital world, because whether we like it or not, we are now in the 21st century. So we cannot afford to not go with the phase, because if we are not going to go with the phase, we'll be left behind. Okay, there will be institutions, there are institutions in the city that are better than your school. So you have no choice but to go with the flow and then adapt with the change, orient your school with the digital age or the digital system, because it will really help in making progress. It will really help in, what do you call this one, um, attaining your vision and mission. What is the standard for teachers? As teachers, you have to be oriented with the digital age, or you have to have 21st century skills. You have to be oriented with technologies and programs that you can utilize to enhance your teaching. What is the objective of a teacher? Of course, the teacher should provide efficient and effective learning and teaching to the students. Okay, so as a teacher, our main focus is the student learning and creativity. That's the target. You have to allow your students to unleash their potential. You have to use varied techniques and strategies to develop the creativity of your students. Of course, digital age learning experiences, that's like what we are doing right now. We are using different platforms to deliver our lesson. Would it be using uh, Google Meet or Zoom or any technologies that you can utilize, like this one that I'm doing a pre-recorded video so I can send it to you, and so many other ways that we can utilize just to improve our learning or to deliver the goods to the students. All right, so that is what it meant to have digital age learning experiences. But I believe that there are other platforms that we are not oriented of, and maybe you were able to encounter it. So in the future, perhaps, if I'm going to allow you to share your to look for strategies on how to do your lectures, especially with kinder or preschoolers, how you're going to deliver your lessons using digitals and technologies, so you can improve your teaching. So you are going to provide it, right? Now, for assessments, we have different ways, like what we are doing right now. We are using the Google Forms, other are using iSpring, and many others, okay, to really assess the learning of your students. Okay, so digital citizenship and responsibility, of course, as what we have said, as teachers, you have to really orient to embrace the fact that we need technology to deliver our lessons to the students. Okay, we cannot live, we cannot live today with the strategies of the past. Also, although it may work, but not that efficient. If there's a way to improve our teaching, why not adapt technology? Okay, although you have the skills of being of a teacher, what is expected from a teacher, but it is an add-on if you know, and you know how to use the computers and other programs. It would be great and it would be excellent if you have these skills, okay, because you can enhance the performance of your students. You can use varied techniques to deliver the goods to the students without discounting the quality of education. All right. Next is professional growth and leadership. As a teacher, you have to improve yourself. You have to feed always your brains of what is trending today, what is in today, because you cannot be because you are the one delivering the goods to the students. So what, in simple context, what you gonna deliver to your students if you don't have any to deliver? Get the point? Meaning to say, you have to always feed your brains and your mind with things necessary for the students to survive, necessary for the students to cope with the current trend and the current issues of our society and community today, right? So you are expected to be a leader. Okay, so we already discussed that one. Okay, what now? What about in the side of the students? Okay, educational technology standards for students. This is the end point. They have to be oriented with communication and collaboration. We are expecting our students to communicate well, since that we have so many platforms and we have so many applications now nowadays that they can utilize to improve communication, to enhance grammar, to improve their speaking skills. Of course, there should be a collaboration between a student to student, teacher to student, and then in the administration. Okay, there are other applications and other way to improve collaboration. Okay, since we are not all knowing individual, but I always believe that there's room for improvement. So collaboration is effective way to improve oneself. Okay. Next is creativity and innovation. Okay. So if one resources is not available, you have to look for a substitute, and that is creativity. That is innovation. You innovate if it is not available. If in this certain point we are in constraints of it, what do you think should be done to somehow will not somehow achieve still the goal of specific situation. Okay, so that is creativity and innovation. Being a teacher, if you will be assigned to far-flung areas, if there's no computer there, if there's no internet there, you have to be creative, you have to innovate. Okay, so because that is your task, that is your teacher. You cannot just say, oh, with no class, we don't have class today because I don't have computer, I don't have laptop, I don't have materials for you to learn today. But that is very a no-no in that is a no-no in the profession, teaching profession, because being a teacher, you are expected to be creative. You can look for ways that would augment and somehow help achieve a specific condition. Okay? Another thing is that the students are expected to be information fluent, meaning to say they will not they cannot, it's not acceptable that they there is a limitation in learning, because as what we discussed last time, we are now in the borderless world wherein everything is available and everything can be accessed online. So they are very fluent in gathering information. But the question is, how responsible are they or our students in gathering information? If the information gathered is valid, if verified, if it is reliable, if it is verified true and correct, so that's now um, the so-called yung bang responsibility of knowing whether the knowledge gathered from internet is absolute or not, okay, or if it is true or not. So that's another thing also that the teacher should teach our students. Research, of course, if you notice, all our activities and all our subjects are using, right, they are utilizing research to, I mean, they're embedding research to 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 a specific discipline, so that the students will be research oriented. What does it mean? Because the purpose of research is to it's either you are going to confirm or to reject a specific finding. That is research. So being a student, we are actually expected to be research oriented, because we are expected to react on specific condition. For instance, if we are actually expected to determine whether the information we gathered is correct or not. So if not, we can correct it, or we can form, or we can extract new information from a specific topic. For instance, if you have found out something that um, that is outside, or there's that is outside from the topic or the research. For instance, mayroong nag-research na ang aspirin pwede siyang ganito, and then you found out in your study or while doing this study na hindi pala siya, no, hindi pala siya tama, mayroon palang mas better sa aspirin. So that is the purpose of research, no, to form, to add to the body of knowledge, or to reject a specific finding or confirm a specific finding. Okay, and then that's why critical thinking, problem solving skills, and decision making skills are expected skills that the student should develop while doing or having this digital. We are while in the 21st century. While critical thinking, because able to perform, no, critically, if these things that I am receiving right now are still applicable in the future, what should be done when faced with situation. So if we can make another theory out of it. So that's it. Now that's decision making and problem solving skills. Okay, because whether we like it or not, the only constant in our world today is change. So what you're gonna do is to embrace change and do something about it. If there are things that remain unchanged, you have to change your perspective. That is one of the attributes of a teacher or a student. There should be You should adapt to what is happening to our community so you can survive. Because if you're not going to adapt, it's either you are going to break or you are going to be stagnant. Okay, so that's it. Next is digital citizenship, and of course technology operations and concepts. You have to be oriented with this. Okay, so pedagogical content knowledge, or TPAC, and technology integration planning, TIP. Okay, so pedagogy is what? This is about your strategies and about your ways of teaching. What is your ways of teaching? Your your mode of teaching, and that's pedagogy. It's about your how you deliver your lesson. Okay, according to Mishra et al. 2006, this is very old. The TPAC framework is which is shown in the left side of this screen here. Emphasizes the connections, interactions, affordances, and constraints between and among the content, pedagogy, and that's your strategies and how you are going to deliver the lesson, and technology. So there is a gap that needs to be addressed. Okay, of course, then yung ano natin dyan, makikita natin, no? Even you are oriented with technology, if you lack the knowledge and on the content, so there will be a problem on it. And then even you have the content, but if you lack then the ways on how to deliver it properly. For instance, ngayon na, if you notice kung nasa oldies ka na, kung matanda ka na, no, and then we have now the online teaching, talagang mahihirapan ka, mangangapa ka, no? Kasi nga, even you are very oriented, will first ka masyado sa content, but if you lack skills in technology, so mahihirapan ka how you are going to deliver the learning to the students. Mahihirapan ka talaga. So ito yung ibig sabihin dyan, yung gap, no? Yung gap. There will be gap between content, pedagogy, and technology. So these three should intertwine. These three should come together and go together for us teachers and students to really achieve the objective for teaching and learning, in the teaching learning process. Okay, digital teaching and media literacy. Successful learning through a time plan. Students learn differently from some are visual learners, auditory, meron ding global, tactile, and then no matter what type of learner you are, engage yourself in the process of learning, planning, implementing, inspecting, evaluating your learning activities. Okay, so here, this is a sample actually of the model, the time plan that you have. What is your target? What do you want to achieve? If you are a teacher, you should have this objective. Why you have to set your objectives? Objectives will set as your parameter of what to achieve at the end of the lesson. Because if there's no objective set, you will never know if you have achieved something. Okay? There's no target, there's no determinant of the performance that you have for that specific period. So there should be a target so that you will be guided if the lesson that you have set for that day, the expected competencies and the time frame that you have set are being achieved or not. Next, what is my existing knowledge about the topic? Of course, if you are not oriented of the topic, it should be very hard for you to deliver the topic. So as a teacher, you are really expected to study in advance, to familiarize your lesson, so that if ever there will be questions phrased, you can answer it immediately. So what else do I need to know and learn about the topic? So those are the target that you have, no? As a teacher, you have to set the target, especially if you are handling preschoolers, you really have to set the specific competencies that you have to achieve, or you target to achieve at the end of the lesson, so that you will know if there's a change in the behavior. So after determining your target, you have to determine the ways of how to implement it. Okay, so this is now the implementation phase. What resources and tools do I need to meet my target? Of course, if you have this specific topic that you have and the objectives that you have to always associate it with the resources. What if my task is to um, introduce alphabet to the students or to the learners, what should be the resources that I'll be needing in introducing the alphabet to the students? So that's it. Now, what actions will I take to make my targets happen? Anong gagawin ko? So this is now the implementation phase. Ito na yung delivery of your lesson. So you have the lesson planning, and after the lesson planning or determining your lesson, you do now the action phase, or ito na yung tatarabahuin mo na. You are going now to introduce the topic to the students. No? So ano yung gagawin? What strategies will I use to meet my target? Anong gagamitin ko? Do I use lecture, games ba, role playing, or I'm going to use visual aids or whatever that you need to really efficiently implement your lesson. Next, are you going to stop there? No, of course. You have to monitor your the progress of your implementation. Are my resources and the tools helping me to meet the target? You have to check it. Do my actions work well in making my targets happen? Are my strategies effective in meeting the target? So yun siyang gagawin mo. You do the monitoring na achieve ko ba? Hindi. No? So yung bang nakatulong kaya ito? So this is actually a preparation in the evaluation phase, no? Because itong si monitor, dito na yung testing, no? Testing na ito dito. Evaluation now, if you're done with your assessment, monitoring is para siyang testing. Okay, nagte-test ka na ngayon, no? No, you give the test. And then, what about, this is now the measurement na itong si measure, no? As a monitor. Si evaluation is, what's the difference between measurement, testing, and evaluation? No? The evaluation, you give now the verdict. Pass or failed, or estudyante ay pumasa, ang estudyante ay bumagsak sa aking klase, ito lang yung score niya dahil ganito. So you do the evaluation. I have to repeat the topic because konti lang yung nakakuha. So that's re-evaluation, no? Okay. Have I achieved my target? In what stage did I do wrong? So yun yung evaluate mo na siya. Do I need to revise my actions and strategies on how to implement the plan? What actions and strategies will I take to make learning effective and efficient? Okay, so same with this. Successful learning through time plan. Ito siya. This time plan can further assist both teachers and students whether they want to learn by themselves new hardware and software which can be integrated in teaching and learning. So you better read this one, determine the hardware and software you want. So that's, if this is actually a sample, no? Sample target that you have. You want to know the different software and the hardware, no? Which can be used or can be of help in teaching and learning. Okay, and then determine the process that you need, determine whether the actions are achieved or you're closer to it or closer to achieving, and then whether the actions taken were effective or not. So that's an example of a time plan. Okay, the ICT and the computer in its roles and history. Okay, ICT or Information Communication Technology are basically information handling tools, a varied set of goods, applications, and services that are used to produce, store, process
distribute and exchange information. So, yun yung very broad kasi si ICT. So, yun siya. This is composed of applications, the services. So, hindi lang ito limited on the computers itself, but the application and the services that you utilize to produce, store, process, distribute, and exchange information. Okay, so what are the roles of ICT in education? It can serve multiple teaching functions. ICT can be used as drill or practice to help solve problems to access information in different fields. Alright guys, actually, there are other programs, hindi ko kasi kayo, no? Hindi kasi ako teacher nyo sa Edu8, but if nasa, ano ba yung Edu8? Yeah, that's educational technology to sana, no, sayang. Kasi sa old curriculum, yung Edu8 kasi yan, but sa inyo, this is ECE 110, that's educational technology. If may time sana tayo, sige lang, baka may time tayo, no, I will allow you to create a program for quiz, no, para maka-quiz kayo sa mga bata, para ma-monitor nyo yung score ng mga bata. So, maggawa tayo ng ganyan, no? Para naman ma-experience din yun. You'll be oriented with the use of ICT, no? So, yun siya. Pwede siya ginagamit sa drill and practice. If you notice, maraming mga free program running in the net na pwede nyong gawin. For instance, hanap kayo ng reviewer sa net. Napakarami pong mga program, nakaprogram na siya wherein pwede ka mag-answer doon, and then you will have your score yun immediately after answering it. So, yun siya. No? So, those are examples of ICT. It can be used in different teaching and learning modes, like these learning modes: classroom interactive learning, independent learning, network learning, organizational learning, and managed learning. Like the Google Classroom actually is an example of ICT, no? What else? If pwede tayong, pag nasa school tayo, sana meron tayong tinatawag doon na network learning, wherein I can utilize one computer to check, okay, all the computers, kung anong ginagawa ninyo, I can do that. So, and then I can distribute the lesson from one computer and be distributed to the entire computer, no, of one specific room. Pwede na din yan gawin, no? But now, napakarami na kasing mga platform that we can do it. Like sa Facebook, mayroon na tayong tinatawag na create room. Pwede tayong mag-lesson doon. So, that's ICT, no? Ito, Google Classroom, pwede natin siyang gawin. So, information can be delivered in an instant because of the internet. You can deliver information in a wide coverage at low cost. Ito ngayon, no, parang free na nga din si Messenger. Okay, so hindi na ganun siya kahirap makipag-communicate. So, even with not meeting face-to-face, or even with this setup, we can still learn, no? Pwede pa rin tayong matuto. But then, yun nga din, kailangan talaga mag-effort on both sides, teachers and the students. So, software for education, educators and students. Okay, system software. Alright, so I believe you're done with this. If you have your CE1, I don't know if you have your CE1, but in the old curriculum, there is the subject wherein it introduces all the software applications. This includes about the history of computers, the different software, and different hardware of the computer. Now, when you say hardware, it talks about everything that is tangible. Yung pwede mong hawakan. It talks about the parts of the computer, um, which can be touched and which can be held. For instance, you have the monitor, the keyboard, the joystick, the CPU, the disk. The CPU is the brain of the computer. Okay, so it's wrong to say that I would like to bring my CPU to the shop. Hindi po pwede yun because the CPU is the brain of the computer. But if you are referring to the entire system, yung isang buong set, ano talaga ng computer, that is system unit, yung isang case talaga na ganyan. System unit. Now, the RAM is the random access memory. It temporarily stores data. Kaya nga, pag mataas masyado yung 4 gig yung RAM mo, mas mabilis yung processing ng ano mo, pag mag-open ka ng Facebook, ng YouTube, or whatever applications you are going to open. Okay, pag malaki yung RAM mo, hindi maglalag ang computer mo. But pag konti lang siya, like 512 MB lang siya, maglalag talaga. Pero wala naman siguro 512 ngayon kasi ang minimum 2 gig naman siya. Okay, this is where you store your data. Okay, so yun po siya. Dito sa RAM, temporary stores data lang siya. If you open a Word, if you're going to restart your computer, wala na siya. Kasi na-store lang siya dun sa RAM, temporary lang. Software. Software, everything that is intangible, yung hindi mo pwedeng hawakan. For instance, the operating system, or tinatawag natin siya na OS. One example of this is the Windows 7, Windows 10, tawag nito yung mga open source program. What do you mean by this open source? Ang dami natin mga open source, the Unix, Linux, yun, if you have heard about it. So, yun yung mga operating system. Everything that runs inside the computer refers to a system or software. Okay? Then, application software, ito yung mga ginagamit natin. Everything that is installed in the operating system. Okay? So, games, Excel, Skype, Word, Firefox, browsers, yun yung mga tinatawag natin na software. Okay. So, na-discuss ko na itong different, wag na siguro ito, no? Wag na lang yan. Okay, application software. Alright, this one. Application software, we have application programs allow users to perform specific tasks like writing documents, making project presentations, video recording, and many others. So there are types of applications used in school, instructional and productivity software. Which is instructional software, these are software intended to teach skills or information through demonstration, example, explanation, and problem solving. For instance, yung tutorial, drills, yung mga practice simulation programs, yun siya yung instructional software. Everything that enhances the learning of the students. Okay. What about productivity software? These are programs designed to help teachers and students in creating their reports. Okay, computing grades. So this basically refers to Excel, ganon, PowerPoint, no? Okay, so yun siya. Spreadsheet, presentations, graphic, multimedia software, and so on and so forth. But the instructional software, ito yung mga software used to enhance the learning of the students. So that's the difference between the two. Okay, are we done? Not yet. So evaluating its effectiveness in the classroom. So be suitable for the teaching and learning situation. Be motivational, promote learning. So ito siya. How are you going to evaluate the effectiveness of your performance or your lesson using digital software, using technology, no, in learning or in teaching? So you have to have this one, be suitable for teaching and learning situation, be motivational, promote learning, be at the right level or at the right stage of the learners. Okay. What do you mean by be suitable for teaching and learning situation? Meaning to say, you have to determine what technology is going to, if you are going to use if with this lesson. So you have to determine if your lesson is about mathematics, what should be the appropriate technology to use. Okay. And then situation, since it refers about situation, if nandoon ka sa far flung, anong gagamitin mo? Are you going to use computers, or are you going to use tawag nito examples that the student cannot relate? Of course not, no? It should be, you are going to contextualize your lesson, you are going to indigenize your lesson. What does it mean by indigenize? Meaning to say, kunwari doon sa far flung, hindi naman sila makarelate ng ano bang hindi nila makarelate na kunwari talaga hindi sila makarelate ng apple, hindi mo yun siya gagamitin. Hindi naman sila siguro makarelate ng grapes, ng passion fruit or whatever, no? Yung hindi makarelate, hindi pa nila nakita ba? So if they don't see that thing, they couldn't relate kasi nga hindi nila ma-picture out. Okay? That is the theory of constructivism. Di ba? Ang constructivism, you will able to create new word, new phrase, new information, new learning based on your previous experiences. So you cannot construct pag wala ka talagang na-experience. Tama? So that's why if you're going to teach, you have to always consider the situation where you are in. Be motivational. Of course, as a teacher, you have to motivate your students to learn. Okay, you're there. You will be you were placed there to motivate your students to learn. Promote always learning. Na dapat hindi lang yung sarili mo ang iniisip mo. You always consider the side of your students. Alright? Be at the right level or age of your learners. What does it mean? I once learned that it's not ano yung sabi ng teacher ko? It's not wrong to go down to the level of your students, but it's wrong to stay there. What does it mean? You need to say, if you are going to teach, you have to always consider the level of your students. Okay? You have to go down to the level of your students. Pag ito lang yung, that's why very important, i-assess mo yung deepness of their learning. Kasi doon ka mag-start. Right? But it's wrong if you are going to stay to the level of your students. Okay? What does it mean? Na hindi ka na lang mag-go on. Hindi ka na lang matuto. No? It's very wrong. But it's always good to go down to the level of your students so you can have a grasp of where they are, no? At that moment that you started your lesson. Okay? Address the needs of the curriculum. You know, curriculum is very broad, but whatever was written in the curriculum can only be called curriculum once and unless all the written pedagogies and all the written concepts are being performed and actualized by the learners. So we need to say, lahat na nasulat mo, lahat ng nalagay doon is na-practice nila. Okay? Help meet the learning outcomes. Okay, of course, nalagay yun yung type natin, no? Ito, educational technology cycle. Of course, before the instruction, during the instruction, and after the instruction, you have to evaluate and revise your technology. Evaluate mo, effective ba itong ginamit ko before the instruction? Okay kaya ito? Itong gagamitin ko. So, you have to evaluate it. No? During instruction, i-evaluate mo pa rin siya. After instruction, i-evaluate mo pa rin siya. If not effective, revise, and that's the cycle. Okay? Okay? Oh. Next na lang ito, kasi para hindi na masyadong mahaba. Kunti na lang pala. Wag na ito assessment, no? Evaluating software program, content, documentation, technical support, wag na yan. Education technology integration, evaluating its effectiveness, of course, you have to do assessment. Alright, and then educational technology integration, evaluating its effectiveness, traditional assessment, and alternative assessment. Okay? So, traditional, ano bang traditional na do ng assessment, no? Okay, so, kasi book, bookish naman tayo before, so that's traditional assessment. But now, we do some alternatives, the portfolio, performance-based na tayo, checklist, rating scales, and then we have rubrics. That's the different evaluating tools that we have. Legal and ethical use of technology. Ito very important. Ito, ethical use of technology in school. Use computer to help people and not to do harm. When can be when can we consider that a computer can do harm to others? Of course, if you use your computer to do harassment, yan, no, it could do harm. Like yung cybercrime, yung mga ganyan, no? Oo. So, they can do harm to others. Use own or assigned computer unit and not to interfere with others' work. Okay, this is very important, no? Being a teacher, you and a student as well, and a user, as a citizen of the country, you're expected to do your own business. It's really not good to interfere with the work of others because you are not respecting them. Even siguro no sa kahit boyfriend mo siya or kapatid mo siya, you really have to ask permission whenever you open a file. Kahit nga sa cellphone, no? Ganyan. Do not interfere with others' computers or work or cell phones. Kasi nga, it's private property. Okay, good. Respect their privacy. Okay, use the computer using your own files and not to use others' files. Kasi minsan, no, lalo na pag sa US, yung flash drive, pag maghiram tayo ng flash drive, ina-open natin yung files ng iba, which is, that's not really good, no? That's a no-no in IT world. Hindi po yan pwede. Okay? Use computer to share information and do no to do steal others' information. Okay? Do not steal others' information, guys, because that is intellectual property. So that's still it. That's why when you do research, you really have to acknowledge the source. Use computer to spread truthful information and not to do character assassination. Lalo na pag, kunwari, may kagalit kayo ng teacher nyo, like your teacher. So, minsan gumagawa tayo ng dummy account, no? Wala naman siguro sa atin yan. Gumagawa tayo ng dummy account, sinisiraan natin yung isang tao, and so on and so forth. And that's unethical, no? We're not allowed to do it, especially if you are a teacher or a student. No, hindi talaga. Or kahit ordinary citizen ka, you're really expected to adhere to ethical use of technology. Use software that are original and legal and not pirated. Okay, ang daming guilty nito, no? Kasi ngayon, kahit nga pag bumili ka ng bagong laptop, yung install nila na operating system mo is mag-expire siya, hindi naman siya original, no? So, ganun siya. Kahit nga sa mga movies natin, ang dami mga pirated. But actually, we are expected no, to use original and legal software. Use computer resources with permission. We always ask, we should ask permission first no, from the owner. Use your own work and not the work of others. Use your computer that you respect, as what I have said, no, and not do cyberbullying. Create programs and software having in mind its social impact and not for self-interest. Okay? Yung iba kasi gumagawa ng mga virus. Bakit gumagawa sila ng virus to steal the information of others and gina-threat kanila, no? So, mga ganyan. Okay? So, may mga tao talaga na ganun. But we have to teach our students to respect the rights of others, to respect others, no? Okay, next one, ethical issues in technology and software, unauthorized access and use of hardware, software, network files. Ito nga, no? Hindi siya pwede talaga. Hardware theft, yung nakawin mo yung isang software. Okay, software theft, information theft, malicious act in software. Like for instance, yung gumawa ka ng i-try mo i-hack, no? Kunwari, marunong ka mag-hack, no? I-try mo i-hack yung system natin sa school or hack mo yung sa bank, hindi po yung pwede. No? Gamitin natin yung kakayanan natin sa tamang paraan. Okay. Okay, so you have to read na lang ito, ha? Alright, sige. So those are the things that you have to remember in this lesson. Tapos naman tayo nito. And I hope may natutunan kayo, no? Okay. Be ready for 3-minute talk on Wednesday. Is kailangan natin yun siya. Okay, so tapusin ko na itong ating video or ating recording kasi nga pagpasensya nyo na talaga yung mga unnecessary noises, guys, kasi hindi ko naman pwede patayin yung manok ng kapitbahay namin. Kidding aside, right? So, God bless, guys, and be safe.